Jenna Pecor here with Bancroft Realty in Grand Prairie, Texas. And today I wanted to do a video about what the market is like in North Texas at the moment for buyers and for sellers. And when I do these videos, normally I focus a lot on statistics, but today I'm going to focus on seller and buyer behavior because that's really driving what a lot is going on right now within the market is how people feel about the market, how people feel about home buying, how they are responding to that market, and what buyers and sellers can do to make it a more conducive market for each other, and what you can expect if you are in the market to buy or sell a house right now in North Texas. And so I'm going to be focusing mostly on just behaviors. And this is based on the last several transactions that I've been a part of over the last year. There has definitely been a shift in the market within the last year. We went from a period of time where it was very much a seller's market to very much a buyer's market. Right now, it is definitely a buyer's market. There's a lot of inventory on MLS right now, and buyers are being very picky. So the first thing to know about buyers right now in this market is the interest rates are still close to about 7%, on the higher of the 6% really. And so, but which is not that terrible. But when you add to it that home insurance premiums are really high and taxes are really high, you have a large mortgage payment. So this is number one, causing buyers to get less bang for their buck. So they're not approved for as much as they normally would have been, even if they might be approved mortgage wise. Let's say that they can be approved for $450,000 because their income supports it. At the end of the day, the insurance and the taxes on the home might cost them right out of a $450,000 house. They might have to go with a less house. So that is really what's driving a lot of the decisions on the buyer side. And so if you are a buyer right now, just know that the market is your market, which means that you have a lot of options. Usually you're not having to make decisions like right at that moment in time. This is also something that is driving price at home houses sitting on the market for a longer period of time. Buyers know that they have options right now. So they know that if this house isn't going to work out, the next house will work out, and there probably is going to be a next house any moment now. Unless there's a very specific area, like a very, and when I say specific, I mean a specific small group of a neighborhood. Like I'm talking like a few streets where someone wants to live. Like right now, trying to find a house, let's say, in an area that is on a golf course. That's a very specific niche and on a very specific golf course. So that might be a little bit harder to come by. But if you're looking in South Grand Prairie, in generally speaking, you're going to be able to find something, and something's going to come on the market, and it's going to continue coming on the market. I have one client that's looking right now, and we got like 7 new houses this morning. I haven't seen that many houses come up in a search in a really long time. And so buyers know that, and this is something that sellers need to really understand, is that your house is having to compete with other houses. It's not just the competition of like what is the CMA for, like when I say CMA, I mean a comparative market analysis. It's not just what the other houses are worth or what they sold for. It's what those houses are offering, and is the house that you're in comparable, or can it compete with the other houses that are around it. So, and buyers know that. So let's say that you have 2 identical houses that are streets down from each other. You have one house that's very updated and the other house that's not. That is going to make a huge difference. Maybe not in what you get for it eventually if you waited long enough, but whether your house that's not updated is going to sit on the market so much longer than the one that is. So you may wait and get the price that you want, kind of, but the other house is going to sell a lot faster because it's more updated, or it has more features that this other house doesn't have. And this is a shift because there for a while people were just kind of taking what they could get. That is not the case anymore. And so, like I said, buyers are being very competitive. They're comparing houses to each other, and I don't know that sellers have caught up with this fact yet. This is something that sellers are really struggling with right now, is thinking their house is worth a lot more than it is, because 2 years ago it was worth a lot more than what it is today. which is crazy, but that's the way the market goes. Everybody that took a chance or maybe has waited and put off to selling a house until this year, you could have gotten a lot more for it 2 years ago. But the fact of the matter is that a house is only worth what a willing and able buyer is willing and able to pay for it. So you could say all day long, well, yeah, we could get this, we could get that, but it's going to be that buyer walking in to see that house and seeing if it's worth what they are wanting to pay for it. So competition is a very big thing, and buyers also know that when they do even find a house that they really like, they are getting very aggressive in their offers. I know that I have encouraged my buyers to be very aggressive. I don't know about other agents, but I will say on the seller side, when I have listings, the offers that we're getting are very aggressive. Now, if we get offers, so this is the other part of this that's very interesting. The way that I advise my clients when it comes to buying a house right now is, let's just give me what numbers you think you want to do, and we'll be aggressive in trying to get them to agree to that number. If they say no, they say no. And that's the thing. You can say no and move on to another house. So there's really not a whole lot that you lose just by taking a few minutes, putting an offer together, and submitting it to a seller. The question is whether a seller is in the mindset yet. Have they figured out the market yet, where they realize that you're not probably going to get what you're asking? You're probably going to have to accommodate and compromise a lot to get that house sold. Now, again, it's very dependent on what kind of features that house has and if you've priced it very competitively. If you have priced it competitively and the house is relatively in good condition, you're going to sell that house quickly. If you've overpriced that house, it will not sell. It will not sell unless you drop it. So even the slightest amount of overpricing on a house is not going to sell unless you drop that price. And that is even for a house that is very updated. You have to be very aware of what the houses are going for, and be competitive in your price points. So, because the thing is not every agent is not like me. There's a lot of agents that just will not take a chance and just put an offer in and hope for the best. I will. I wish more agents were like that, because I think we could get a lot more deals done. But a lot of agents have this mentality, or our clients have this mentality, and agents don't talk them out of it. Well, we don't want to insult them. If they're asking this much of the house, I don't have that much to give to the house, so we'll just move on to the next thing. Whereas sellers, I think the last few sellers that I've worked with personally have kind of been like, just make me an offer and we'll work with it. And so I do think that buyers agents could get a lot more aggressive about what they're asking for their buyers, and just take a shot and hope for the best. That is basically what real estate is. It's just all a negotiation anyways. And that is one thing that I think that I'm pretty good at is negotiating. As a buyer's agent, I'm super aggressive, but I also know that the buyers hold the cards in their hands. So if we don't get it, we'll just move to the next person who will get us what we're asking for. And but I don't think that all sellers have figured that part out yet. So people are getting a lot more offers that are less than what their asking price are, or they're getting a lot of concession requests. So, gone are the days of you don't get any buyers, you don't get any closing costs, sellers aren't going to pay for that, or they're not going to pay for any repairs on the house. That is not the case anymore. Buyers not only want to offer you less, they want you to pay for some of their closing costs, and they're going to ask you to fix things on your house. So this is where, on a seller side, um, uh, delayed maintenance on a house can really cost you a lot of money in the end, because before, you might be able to sell it with the foundation that needs work, and the buyers will just have to deal with it when they buy the house. It's not the case anymore. If your house needs foundation work, if your house has a bad roof, if your house has plumbing that has not been updated in the past 20 or 30 years, you could be in a really bad position to not be able to sell your house unless you do the work on it, or you drop the price enough to where a buyer finds it to be beneficial for them to do all the work themselves. And this is going to be the issue. This is why a lot of these houses are sitting on the market right now, honestly. Because the seller's attitude is, I'm going to drop that price and I'm not going to do anything. Well, that's just not a buyer right now. You are probably going to drop the price, and you probably are going to have to do something on the sale of that house, especially if you're not being realistic about your asking price and the condition that your house is in. Now, the other thing too that you have to realize is doing the work on it. Like I said, buyers are the ones that are in the negotiating seat in this market that we're in, and they're very particular. So doing foundation work doesn't just mean putting in a couple piers maybe on one side of the house and saying that you have foundation work done, because they're probably going to bring in two foundation people and a structural engineer that's going to look at that house and say, we know that you had two piers put in, but it really needs 10. So if you're trying to do the repairs on a house, but you're cheaping out on the repairs on the house because you just want to say that you got some stuff done, that this is the issue that sellers, in my opinion, are having right now is what is a buyer going to want you to fix, and how is the buyer going to want you to fix it? Because what a buyer might want is not what a seller might pay. But sellers are not in the negotiating seat right now. So it's taking people sometimes several offers before they get to that point where they realize what I'm asking for the house is just it's not realistic, and there's too much work that needs to be done on it. So trying to find that one buyer is going to be very difficult. Now, if you have a cash buyer that's able to pay for a lot of these repairs, that's one thing. But if you have an FHA buyer or a conventional buyer and your house needs a lot of work, that's going to be something that's going to be very tricky. You might be able to get a higher price if you're willing to do the work before the house closes. And that is what a lot of people are asking for. And that is not something that I've experienced in any market that I've been in the past 11 years. There might be small stuff like, we need you to paint on the outside of the garage door because the bank might want you to do that. It's chipping, stuff like that, but not, we want you to do the entire foundation and the roof before we move in. I've never experienced these levels of structural repairs before the house closes. And so that is something that sellers should really consider. I would never suggest that sellers do work on the house before they list the house that are that extensive. I do think that they should acknowledge that there's a problem and that they know that they're going to have to address it. But also, you're gonna have to price the house accordingly. If you have issues that are that magnitude in your house, and it's any large thing, if it's structural, if it's plumbing. I've never seen as many buyers do plumbing inspections as I have in the last 6 months. Never. Like, most people didn't care. If they had cast iron pipes, they were like, okay, that's fine as long as they're in good shape. Now people are taking into account, am I going to have to replace all these cast iron pipes, and how much is that going to cost? And I'm going to take that off the price of a house. I mean, truly, it's to that point. And again, they can do this because they're in the negotiating seat. The home insurance premium and the taxes are just as much as the mortgage payment and insurance. That is a problem, and I've seen that. It's crazy. So that's kind of what we're dealing with at the moment. Buyers are still very eager to purchase homes. There are buyers out there. It's not like buyers are scared to buy a house. They're just being a lot more selective. I think this is definitely a boomerang from the pandemic market that we were in, because there was a period of about 2 to 3 years where you literally had to take what you can get. I remember telling buyers sometimes when we were on our way to a showing for a house that literally was listed 10 minutes ago, I'd say we're on our way to a showing, and then I'd already have gotten a notice from the agent, like a email or a text blast. Hey, just to let you know, we're already in multiple offers for this house. So, highest and best tonight by 10 p.m. And I'd have to tell these first time home buyers, like, you're going to have to make a decision while we're there, and you're going to have to pay probably $30,000 over asking price to get this house. That's a hard conversation to have. So it's a lot more fun to be a buyer's agent right now. I'm not going to lie. I helped my sister as a first time home buyer, and it was a lot more fun to go look for houses because there are so many. But on the seller side, it's not the most fun to be a listing agent, because you do have to temper a lot of those expectations that people have had and have seen a market where they could get a lot more for it, but they're not getting a lot for it now. So houses are moving again if you price them right, if you have the proper expectations of what your house is, the condition of your house. So if you're looking for a real estate agent right now, in my opinion, the things that you're going to need to look for in a real estate agent is, are you aggressive with negotiating? Are you going to encourage, especially if you're on the buyer's end, if you're working with an agent that's not having you be aggressive, you're not with somebody that's got your best interest at heart. You need to have somebody that is willing to be aggressive and is also willing to negotiate on your behalf. If you're a seller's agent, if you're looking for someone to help you sell your house and list your house, you have to find one that's going to be very honest with you, bluntly honest, to the point that, but that's what's going to happen if you want to sell your house, is you're going to have to understand that agents are just really having to set the expectation, the proper expectation for sellers right now. And that is just part of the market that we're in, because our goal is to get everyone to the closing table, not so that we can get paid, but so that there can be a deal where both parties feel like they are walking away with something that is where they feel good about what they're walking away with. But if you never get to the closing table, sellers are never going to be happy, and buyers are just going to wander around work like looking for houses for the rest of their lives, and they're never going to commit to doing anything. So you can ask for what you want all day long, but if you never get to the closing table, it doesn't matter. So what is it? Nothing out of nothing is nothing. So you can ask all day long for the high price, but again, it's meaningless if it's not going to sell. So that is something that I've noticed. These are the things that I've noticed, having dealt with both buyers and sellers in the last, really the last year, but probably 6 to 8 months. So if you're looking in the Dallas Metroplex and you are looking to either buy or sell a house, I would love to help you. I've got a large amount of experience, and this market makes sense to me. I understand what it's going to take to either buy or sell your house, buy a house or sell your house. So I would love to work with you. Once again, I'm Jenna Pecor. I'm with Bancroft Realty, and my number is 214-558-4410. Have a great weekend. Bye.